Welcome to another program. Today we've got an interesting topic, one that seems to pop up all the time here at the Circuit Clerk's office, and that's the topic of passports. Who needs a passport? How much do they cost? Where do I have to get a passport from? Can my children get passports? How much do they cost? All these questions are going to be answered in today's program as we talk with Bernice Brewer, and I want to get this right, Bernice. You are the Customer Service Manager from the Chicago Passport Agency. Thank you for coming today.
No problem.
And welcome to our program. We're going to talk about passports. Now, you are the federally recognized expert, so we're going to drill you for some questions here.
Okay.
You know, I've got to tell you, and I'm going to use my little cheat sheet here. We are one of, correct me if I'm wrong, we are one of two agencies here in the capital city that are allowed to accept passport applications.
Correct.
The post office.
Yes.
And they are allowed everywhere,
yes,
I would assume, and circuit clerk offices. And so we do a fair share. As a matter of fact, we probably do more passports than we ever dreamed we would do in the past. Let me just give you some numbers. Right now, or let's say at the height, when did the passports change? Was that 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
When you had to have passport to just about go everywhere?
Yes.
We did about 300 passports a month.
Really?
In this small area. Now that that's kind of settled down and with the economy doing what it does, we're down to 134 per month on average. So we're still pretty good customers for you.
A lot.
Yeah, and it does. And I might add that, yes, the Circuit Clerk's office does get a small fee for that that's mandated by the federal government, and that does help go into our general revenue fund, so that keeps us from raising taxes. How's that? Got to put a positive spin on it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about passports. My first question, what agency oversees the issuances of passports?
Under the federal government, it's the U.S. Department of State, Bureau of Consular Affairs, Passport Services, and I'm from the Chicago Passport Agency, and we oversee the Midwest region.
And you've got to have one of the biggest offices, I'd imagine.
It's fairly large because we actually print passport books and cards at our facility.
I did not know that. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. Why we can, if we can't help you here, we can send you up there, and there's courier services, that type of thing.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, who is eligible to get a passport?
Any U.S. or non-U.S. national.
Okay.
U.S. citizen or a non-citizen national.
So if you're here legally, you basically can get a passport.
Well, if you're here legally and you have been naturalized.
Okay, that's a good way to qualify.
If you've become a U.S. citizen.
So for the average person here, it's any U.S. citizen and your children, grandpa, grandma, everybody.
Yes.
Okay. Why do I need a passport? I mean, what is a passport?
A passport is your proof of your citizenship traveling in a foreign country.
And it gives you certain rights when you're in another country?
Exactly. That passport lets a foreign government know I'm protected under the U.S. government. You can find your nearest, if you ever run into trouble, or if you lose that passport while you're traveling, find the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate so you can get home.
Right. So it affords you some protections that you might not have if you didn't have that. And I'm sure, because I have a passport, and I got to tell you, even to this day, they check that passport. They want to know that you are legally there. So first of all, let's get down to some of the basic questions. Do I need to apply in person for my passbook?
Yes. If for first-time applicants, you must appear in person at an acceptance facility, which is a clerk of courts like Sangamon County, or post office, and we do have some townships throughout Illinois that's authorized. Village,
Are they all able to apply for that acceptance, or is it just something that you appoint when there's a lack of other facilities?
It depends on the area. When I receive letters as far as designations, I see how many facilities are within a 25-mile radius.
Okay.
And I look at the hours that they may offer versus what the post office or clerk of court might offer. And if it's a real rural area, a lot of the times you may have more than one acceptance facility in an area.
That's actually nice to know.
Yeah.
All right. If I had a previous passport and I want to renew it, do I still have to apply in person?
Well, if that previous passport was a fully valid, undamaged, under 15 years from the date of issuance, no, you don't.
Okay.
And you must have been over the age of 16
Okay.
when it was issued. Otherwise, you must appear in person.
Okay. So obviously, if you don't have to appear, what do? You can.
You can use, and you can get it. All applications are available on the government's website, www.travel.state.gov.
Okay.
And if you've had a previous passport and you still have it in your possession, and it's under 15 years from the date of issue, and you were 16 or older when it was issued, you can use a DS-82 application.
Which I just happen to have.
Yes. And if you notice, it says application for U.S. passport by mail. And there are 4 questions on the front. If you can answer yes to all 4 of those questions, then you are eligible to use this application, complete it, make out a check or a money order payable to the Department of State, and the mailing address is inside the form.
Okay.
And you can put everything in the envelope and
So it's
fill
an
it
easy
out.
to follow form.
Exactly.
So even people like me could figure this out. Huh?
Yeah.
So well, this is one of the many forms that you have, and
Yes.
So this is the one that fits that situation you were talking about. If you've never had a passport, it would be the DS-11.
Exactly.
Which looks like this, which you can get online, you can get here, or the post office.
Yes.
In this area anyway, and of course various other locations. It asks a lot of stuff, but it's important information: date of birth, sex, what your picture is, you know, who your parents were, things to prove who in fact you truly
Exactly.
are. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, so let's move on. And like I said, we've got tons of papers here, but I don't want anybody to be scared, because part of us being an acceptance or a place to apply for a passport is that we have to go through training.
Yes.
And you have to verify that training and certify it. So we will help you, as will the people at the post office, fill out answer every question, show you what to do and how to answer that, and what information to gather if you don't have it. So
Exactly.
that's part of our being able to be an acceptance agency, if you will, or an application agency, that we go through this training. So anyway, speaking of that, once you realize you're going to go, well, perhaps that's my next question. If I'm going to go on vacation out of the country, do I need a passport?
It all depends on where you're traveling to.
Okay.
Now, if you're going on vacation and you're flying internationally, you will need a passport book. If you are traveling on vacation, say you're going by land or sea to maybe the Caribbean, Bermuda, Mexico, places like that, you can use a passport card. A lot of people don't know that we do have a card now. It is the size of your driver's license. It fits conveniently in your wallet, and it's used for proof of your citizenship as well as a passport. But it is only good for land and sea border crossings. So remember, if you're flying internationally, you must have a passport book.
All right, do you get this card at the same time you get your passport book?
You can. On the app, if you look at the top of the application, and it's ask you,
Oh, what are you applying for?
what are you applying for? If you check both,
Then you'll get both.
you will get
if you're
both.
accepted.
Yes.
Is there a separate fee for the card?
Yes. Now, there's only one execution fee if you apply for both at the same time. But if you are applying for both, you must include the fee for the passport book and the
And the
card.
card. That makes
yeah,
sense.
a lot of people will check both, but they forget to include the money.
Okay. And so the obvious, or one of the obvious reasons you'd want the card is that way you don't have to carry this book around.
Exactly.
Okay. What do I need to bring with me when you come to my office to apply for a passport?
You need to bring a certified copy of your birth certificate, and that is the one from the issuing city, county, or state where you were born. Or if you are a naturalized citizen, your naturalization certificate. Or if you are a U.S. citizen born abroad, your parents were probably issued a certificate of birth abroad. Or if you received a certificate of citizenship, that proves you are a U.S. citizen. 2 2x2 photographs, identical, color or black and white, it is your choice. Valid ID, such as a state-issued driver's license or an ID card. Now, one thing I want you to remember, if you're in Sangamon County visiting relatives and you live in another state and you decide while you're here you're going to apply for your passport, you will have to bring secondary ID with you. You can use your out-of-state driver's license, but you need a second piece of ID, like a credit card or something like that with your signature.
Okay. The pictures, we do a lot of these applications here, and the pictures, it has to be very specific what you want. Now, there are a lot of locations now that they've cropped up now where they will do that. A lot of the drugstores type of thing have it. The medicine shop type of places.
Exactly.
So they know what you need, but don't think you're going to take your own little Instamatic picture there and make that pass.
Oh, you'd be surprised the pictures we get in. But the photos have to be quality paper because of the process that it goes through to be put in that book. And some of these places, the quality of their paper just isn't good.
Right.
So we will reject those photos.
And a good acceptance agent, and hopefully we are qualified to do that, we will tell you that picture's not going to work, or yes, that's barely acceptable, let's try it. The problem is when people apply for passports, it's usually close to the deadline that they need, the time frame they need to get that passport back. So we are going to tell you as the accepting agent to get another picture taken, and we can direct you where to go. But, I mean, the rules are very specific. It has to be 2x2, and they even give you the sample frame size on the application. We're going to take a break here in another minute, but real quick, what are the passport fees?
For an adult, a passport book for an adult 16 and over is $110. For a minor child 15 and under, it's $80. And passport cards for an adult 16 and older is $30, and for a minor child 15 and under, it's $15.
All right, so if you're an adult 16 or over and you want a passport, it's $110. And if you want the card in addition, it's an additional $30, so it's $140.
Exactly.
Okay, and again, we will tell you that. Again, it's those kinds of questions that we will help you answer when you come to see us. We're going to take a brief 30-second break here. When we come back, we'll talk more about why you need a passport and where the best place is to get it. We're here with the customer service manager, Bernice Brewer, from the Chicago Passport Agency. Bernice, once again, welcome back. What an interesting show, because passports are an important part of people traveling now, more important than ever before.
Yes.
And unfortunately, because of the way society is now, there are more restrictions, there's more fees, there's more application types of processes that you have to go through, verification things. So it's a very important part now of anyone traveling outside of the United States, whether by boat, plane, on feet, whatever. and that's what we're here to talk about. We've talked about how much the passports cost, what's the difference between a passport book and a passport card, what's the advantages of either. One of the things, and who needs them, those types of things. And again, all of those questions can be answered by looking up the Circuit Clerk website, which is www.sangamoncountycircuitclerk.org, and or come into our office at 200 9th Street, room 405, and we'll have one of our passport agents come and talk to you and tell you everything you need to do. Okay, Bernice, how long is a passport good for? Once I've paid my $110, how long is that thing good for?
For an adult 16 and over, the validity period is 10 years. For a minor 15 and under, it's 5 years.
All right. The passport card, is that a similar kind of deal? Or?
Yes.
Okay. 10 years and 5 years, depending
10
on
and
your
5.
age. Okay. Now, if I live, can I get a passport from another city other than the one I'm living in? If I'm visiting Philadelphia, I live here in Springfield, but I'm going to Philadelphia. Can I get a passport there?
You can apply at any acceptance facility in any state.
So you don't have to be approved in your hometown?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that we need proof of your birth. Now, as an example for I would imagine most people that live here in Sangamon County, if you were born here, all you have to do is go down to the first floor of our building, the county clerk's office, and get a copy of your birth certificate right there, and then bring it right up. But I do know, because I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I did have to get a birth certificate for my last passport, and there was a toll-free number I could dial for that state of Pennsylvania anyway, and I got it within the next 2 days or something.
Yes.
So does every state have that? Would you know that? I'd imagine they'd have some vehicle to...
There is a service, and remember, we don't recommend one service or another, but if you go online to www.vitalcheck.com, they have toll-free numbers for every state in the U.S., whereas if you need to obtain a certified copy of your birth certificate, you can get one within 24 to 48 hours.
So you understand the urgency, and there are times, and we've had it here, where people say, you know, my parents still live in Europe, somewhere else. My parent is very ill, I need to get there. So you understand how urgent time frames apply sometimes. So what does it take to get a passport normally? First of all, what's the normal processing time, and then are there emergency things we can do?
Routine processing is about 4 to 6 weeks. Expedited service is 2 to 3 weeks.
One of the questions that I was going to ask you, let's say I have a relative in Europe. Unfortunately, the relative's health is bad, and I've been summoned by the family to come see my relative. Is there a way to get a passport in less than that 4 to 6 week time
Yes,
frame?
there is. If you have a real emergency.
And I would assume you'd have to document that somehow.
Yes. Well, a lot of the times the applicant will have everything that they need, and they can call the 877 number and ask for the duty officer. And that duty officer will contact the nearest passport agency, and usually it is the customer service manager, to let them know of the emergency that an applicant has.
All right, so if you're from Springfield, Illinois, here, Sangamon County, the Chicago office would be the closest one.
Exactly.
All right, so you're going to have to go there to Chicago.
Physically come into our office, but if it's a real emergency, you will walk out with a book in hand.
So it's that quick, but you'll have to obviously fill out the same forms, have the same fees and all of those. Is there an extra charge?
You just pay for the passport book and the expedite fee.
Okay. But there is an expediting fee.
A $60 expedite fee anytime you come into our office. You must remember, we are an appointment-only agency, but there are exceptions for life or death situations.
Okay, now, let's say there are companies that will do all this running and for you as an applicant. What do they do?
You're talking about a courier service?
A courier service, yeah.
Yes. Well, we have several courier services that are registered with our agency. And what they do is they bring in hand-carried sealed envelopes where the applicant has appeared maybe at your office, executed their application, and they told your clerk, I need a hand carry. And they have provided the necessary documentation.
So you've approved them to be this trusted carrier.
Exactly. And once the application is sealed, it's given back to the applicant, and they in turn give it to the courier service that they have designated to represent them in our office.
All right, so what does the courier service do? They pick it up from the applicant, and then they bring it to your office in Chicago for a fee, no doubt.
Yes.
Do you set that fee, by the way?
No, each courier service sets their own fees.
Okay. So the idea is, let's say you are bedridden or unable to get to the Chicago office for whatever reason. You can employ a courier to do that, and I'm sure we have them here. I don't know who they are. But what does a courier do once he gets to your office? He drops it off and leaves? Or does he bring home a passport?
He drops it off, and they have a standard pickup time because they are allowed to, each company that's registered with the Chicago office, they are allowed to have 3 same days, and that's what we call 3 pickups per service. So if you give him your application and you're leaving tomorrow, he can pick it up this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
So he could do everything that you could do as an applicant because he has passed the rigors of some application process that you've approved of.
Exactly.
So there might come a time when you need to do that. Obviously, or there wouldn't be couriers in business.
Yes.
And again, it sounds like the passport people, your agency, sounds like they have a heart. They understand that there are situations where you need a passport right now.
Yes, we do.
And you figured out a way to do that, which speaks well of your organization. And I must tell you, as essentially an employee of your office, you're very easy to get along with, and you're always answering questions for us because, as you know, we get questions sometimes that you just didn't expect.
Oh, I know.
So we're sometimes burning up that phone. Okay, Bernice, what do we do here? And you and your folks are always quick to tell us what to do. We put out a little pamphlet, Bernice, called Passport Information, and it's from the Sangamon County Circuit Clerk's office.
Okay.
And what it does, it tells you the fees, what forms you need, what the expediting charge is, and how long it takes. A normal expedited passport is 7 to 10 days, is that correct?
Once we receive it.
Once you receive it.
Yes.
But that's not the emergency deal we were talking about where you need it right away.
No.
Okay, so there's that basic 4 to 6 week period. There's that 7 to 10 day period for the expedited, which you pay an extra fee for. And then the emergency one where you or your courier has to go up there, pay the expedited fee, and you can get your passport right away. Okay. The website, www.travel.state.gov, is what? What does that, is that your website?
That is State Department's official website for any questions and answers you might need on how to obtain a passport, where the passport agencies are located in what cities, what documentation you might need. There's even a listing of Bureau of Vital Statistics, whereas if you don't need rush service to get a birth certificate, you can go to the website and find your state and get you a birth certificate. It's full of all kinds of helpful information.
What, are there different types of passports?
Yes. For a regular tour